Could love really end like this? Angela woke before dawn on her 39th birthday. The quiet house held only the soft hum of the morning light spilling through the curtains. She moved carefully in the kitchen, making coffee and frying eggs just the way Mark liked them. On the table, she left a small note in her neat handwriting. "Happy birthday, love. Hope today feels like a fresh start." Her heart nudged her with hope. Maybe this year would be different. Footsteps shuffled down the stairs. Mark appeared, face tight, avoiding her eyes. Without a word, he dropped a plain white envelope in front of her. "It's best for both of us," he said, voice low and flat. Angela's fingers trembled slightly as she tore open the envelope. Inside lay divorce papers. No tears came. She looked up at him calmly, voice steady but heavy. "You couldn't even wait until tomorrow?" Mark shrugged. "It's just paperwork." Angela stood and cleared the breakfast dishes without a word. Her face was quiet, unreadable. No pleading, no anger, only the still weight of goodbye. She slipped into their bedroom, opened the locked drawer, and pulled out a passport, foreign bills, and a plane ticket. Her escape was ready, and she was already gone. It's hard to remember the woman Angela once was. She used to be a dancer, full of life, light, and passion. The stage was her world, where she felt free and whole. But over the years, that brightness faded. Mark's ambition grew louder, overshadowing her dreams. He dismissed her love for dance as childish, often calling her too sensitive when she spoke about her feelings. Worse, he cheated without a hint of remorse, leaving Angela feeling small and invisible. 2 years ago, everything changed. Angela lost their baby in a miscarriage. She lay in the hospital alone, waiting for Mark, who never came. That moment broke her. It wasn't just the loss of a child. It was the final proof that what she had hoped to save was already gone. From that day, she stopped trying to mend what was beyond repair. But what no one knew was that Angela had not given up on herself. Quietly, over the past year, she planned her escape, not out of bitterness or revenge, but to heal and reclaim her life. She secured a teaching job abroad and found a small apartment waiting for her. To her daughter Leah, she said she was going to a retreat, but the truth was far deeper. Angela was leaving to find peace she hadn't known in years. Mark sat in his sleek living room, phone in hand, a grin creeping across his face. He tapped quickly, crafting the perfect post. "Mutually agreed separation. Still friends. Wish her well." The words felt neat, clean, just like the polished life he wanted everyone to see. No messy breakups, no drama, just a smooth, effortless ending. He hit post and leaned back, sipping his drink as notifications started pouring in. Likes, supportive comments from colleagues and friends, messages from acquaintances who barely knew the full story, but were eager to offer their sympathy. Mark smiled wider. By the time the weekend rolled around, he was ready for a party. His new girlfriend would be there, bright, young, and completely unaware of the shadow Angela still cast. He invited all their mutual friends, laughing with them as the wine flowed and the music played. "This is the fresh start we both needed," he said loudly, raising his glass. Around him, people nodded, unaware that Angela wasn't just gone. She had vanished without a trace. Back at the empty house, silence filled the rooms where Angela had lived her hidden battle. There was no fight, no lawsuit, no angry words thrown like weapons. She had left only one thing behind: a single, carefully folded envelope placed on the bed in their shared room. Mark found it later that day. His fingers hesitated before opening it, curiosity winning over indifference. Inside was a brief note in Angela's familiar, steady handwriting. "I release you. May you never forget what you let go." No explanation, no anger, just those 6 haunting words. Angela was already thousands of miles away, sitting by a window in a small cafe in Lisbon. The salty breeze from the ocean brushed her face, and for the first time in years, she breathed deeply, not from stress or pain, but from relief. She had no phone call, no messages, no reminders of the life she'd left behind. She was free. Meanwhile, Mark's initial pride in how easy everything had been started to shift. He bragged to his friends. She didn't fight, no drama. It was like she disappeared on her own. But deep down, a knot twisted in his stomach. There was something wrong with this silence. No angry phone calls, no desperate pleas, just nothing. For all his boasting, Mark felt the first crack in his confident facade. Angela's quiet exit haunted him more than any argument could have. It started with the mug. 3 months had passed since Angela left. Mark had returned from a business trip and was making coffee, distracted by emails on his phone. He opened the cupboard, and there it was, her favourite mug, white with a faded lavender rim, a tiny chip on the handle, the kind she used to run her thumb over absent-mindedly. It sat quietly among the others, untouched. He stared at it for a while, then, slowly, reached for a different cup. Later that week, he walked into Leah's room to drop off a package. It was a simple thing, a new set of headphones she had asked for, but as he bent down to place it on her desk, his eyes landed on something that didn't belong to the present, a photo frame on the dresser. Angela and Leah, laughing in the sunlight at a beach. Leah was maybe 11, arms wrapped tightly around her mother. The edges of the photo were worn, as if touched often. He paused. "You still keep this out?" he asked without thinking. Leah looked up from her bed, eyes steady. "Why wouldn't I?" Mark opened his mouth, but no words came. The photo stayed. The dress came next. He found it while pulling down old boxes from the hallway closet. Angela's deep blue wrap dress, the one she wore to his last promotion dinner. It still smelled faintly of her perfume, tucked away under winter coats. He sat down in the hallway with the dress in his lap, overwhelmed by something he couldn't quite name. The house had grown too quiet. Leah barely spoke at dinner now. She used to hum while setting the table, always asking about his day. Now she ate quickly, cleaned her plate, and vanished into her room. One evening, as he reached for the remote, she finally said it. "Mom was never the problem," she said plainly. "You just never saw her." Mark turned toward her, startled. "Leah!" She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just stood up and grabbed her bag. "I'm going to Grandma's," she said. "I'll stay there for a while." The door clicked shut behind her. At work, the whispers started. Not outright, not cruel, just quiet questions that floated between conversations. She was always so gentle, wasn't she? I wonder why they split. Angela seemed kind. Strange how suddenly she left. No drama, no noise, just vanished. Mark smiled through the questions, brushing them off with a wave or a quick joke. But every comment chipped away at the story he had carefully posted online. The mutual separation, the idea of staying friends. He opened social media that night, restless. He hadn't looked at her profile in weeks. There she was, standing in the middle of a village square, arms wrapped around a group of barefoot children. Her hair was shorter now, streaks of grey, proud and soft. She was smiling, broadly, brightly, alive. There were comments beneath the photo. "Look at that joy. You're glowing. Your peace is powerful. Never seen you this free." He stared at the screen long after it dimmed. The dreams began the next week. Angela didn't speak in them. She just stood across the room or in a hallway, dressed in white or blue, watching him with unreadable eyes. Sometimes she would walk toward him, then turn away just before reaching him. Sometimes she was dancing, but always, she left him behind. Mark would wake up drenched in sweat, staring at the ceiling, her silence echoing louder than any scream. 1 year later, Mark's relationship falls apart. His new girlfriend leaves him. Leah stops calling him Dad. The cracks began subtly. Chloe, his girlfriend of 11 months, had once admired his calm confidence, his maturity, the way he seemed so composed in the face of personal turmoil. But over time, the silence she once mistook for strength revealed itself as something else. Avoidance, denial, distance. They argued more. Chloe wanted connection. Mark was somewhere else entirely, locked inside a past he refused to name. She brought up Angela's name once, gently, asking, "Do you still think about her?" He didn't answer. He didn't have to. One evening, Chloe stood at the front door with her bag in hand. "I can't be with someone who's haunted," she said, not unkindly. "I think she still has your heart. Or maybe you never had one to give." She didn't slam the door. She didn't need to. It closed softly, like a final breath. Leah's distance had started months before that. First it was shorter calls, then unanswered texts, then silence. The last time she visited, she brought her own toothbrush and didn't leave it behind. She stayed one night, refused dinner, and left early the next morning. As she pulled her bag across the hardwood floor, Mark had asked, "Will you be back next weekend?" She turned to him, holding the doorknob. "I don't know who you are without Mom. Maybe you don't either." And then she added the words that hollowed him. "You stopped being Dad when you stopped seeing her." She left. She didn't look back. Mark told himself he was fine. He filled his time with work, meetings, spreadsheets, gym sessions he didn't enjoy. He smiled at neighbours, waved at co-workers, updated his LinkedIn profile. But every night, he sat in the kitchen after dinner, alone, staring at the same cup of untouched tea. The house had gone quiet in a way no playlist could fix. No voices, no warmth, just the ticking of a clock Angela once insisted on keeping because it felt like an old soul. He barely noticed the days slipping past until one morning, while brushing his teeth, he looked up into the mirror and didn't recognize the man staring back. Tired, older, empty. He began searching, not just online. He'd done that months ago, scouring social media profiles and job listings. But in real life, he drove to her old apartment complex, parked outside, and walked up to her old door. The number had changed. A young couple lived there now. A woman holding a toddler answered. When Mark asked about Angela, she tilted her head sympathetically. She moved out a while ago, quietly. Left a plant behind, actually. No forwarding address. She shook her head. No goodbyes either. Just disappeared. Mark stood there longer than was appropriate, murmured, "Thanks," and walked away. Even the place that once held her memories had erased her. His birthday arrived quietly, almost cruelly. No candles, no messages, no Leah. He worked late, not because he needed to, but because he couldn't bear the thought of returning to the silence of home. When he finally opened the front door, something white caught his eye. An envelope on the floor. No stamps, no return address, just his name, handwritten in ink that made his breath catch. Angela's handwriting. He sat at the kitchen table, the same spot she used to sit at while sipping her morning coffee and writing lesson plans in her little brown notebook. He opened the envelope with slow hands. Inside was a photograph. Angela stood beneath a tree in what looked like a schoolyard, surrounded by children. She was barefoot, her dress swaying in the breeze, her arms open as children ran into them. Her smile was full, not the polite smile she used to give at his work dinners, but a true, radiant light. On the back of the photo was a short note. "There's healing in silence. You taught me that when you walked away." I just finished the lesson. Mark didn't move. The clock ticked behind him. A bird chirped outside. He pressed the note to his chest, like it might somehow warm the hole inside him. And then, for the first time in years, he cried. Not out of frustration, not from stress, but grief, real grief, for the woman he had lost, for the woman he had never truly known. Alone in the kitchen, he finally cries. For everything, for the wife he never knew, the love he threw away, the man he became. It starts with a silent sob, then another, until he's folded over the table, shoulders shaking. His face is buried in his hands. But it's not the tears that break him, it's the weight of realization. For so long, he thought he was the one in control, the one who moved on. But Angela hadn't walked away because she was weak. She walked away because she was finally strong enough. Through tears, he whispers to himself. She didn't just leave, she freed herself. He doesn't sleep that night. Instead, he moves slowly through the house, room to room, touching the things she once touched. Her favorite mug is still in the cupboard, the yellow one with the chipped rim. Her scarf is hanging in the closet, the one she wore that winter in Vermont when she danced barefoot in the snow just to make Leah laugh. He realizes he never really saw her, not truly, and now he never will again. In Portugal, life has slowed into rhythm. Angela teaches dance at a local school by the sea. The studio is small, with creaky floors and tall windows that catch the late sun. Children adore her. They call her Miss Anja with their accents, and they bring her flowers they picked on the walk to class. Her hair is shorter now, greyer at the roots, but she wears it loose and doesn't hide the lines on her face. She laughs more, she sings while cooking, takes long walks barefoot on the beach, and sometimes, just sometimes, she dances in the sand under the moonlight with no music at all. She has made a home for herself, a real one. There is no man here defining her, no apology hanging in the air, no silence that cuts, just peace. She writes again, poetry, mostly, but something else too, a manuscript. Mark tries again, another letter, another message. One email says, "I miss you, I miss us." Another says, "I wish I had fought for you." And finally, one desperate line, "Are you still mine in any small way?" But she never replies. Angela reads them carefully, with steady hands and an unreadable face. Then she deletes the messages, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in clarity. She had spent too many years waiting for love that never looked back at her. She wouldn't give more of her life to echoes. She doesn't owe him a response. Some things are meant to be left unanswered. The manuscript she's been working on takes shape one quiet spring. It's called The Quiet Escape, a woman's guide to leaving without begging. She writes it honestly. No drama, no revenge fantasy. Just truth. The slow erosion of self in the hands of someone who called it love. The courage it takes to leave, not with screaming, but with silence. Not to punish, but to reclaim. It is published by a small feminist press. At first, a few blogs notice, then a few more. A viral quote from the book begins to circulate. Sometimes the loudest revenge is living a life they can't touch. Within months, the book is a bestseller. Angela does one interview. She's asked, "Do you miss him?" She smiles gently and replies, "I miss the version of me who tried so hard to be enough for someone who never even looked at her, but I don't miss him." Mark sees her book on a shelf in a bookstore, her face on the back cover. He flips it open and reads the dedication. For every woman who thought silence meant weakness. You are stronger than you know. He doesn't buy it. He doesn't need to. He walks out of the store and stands in the street for a long time. His world is still intact on the outside, but he knows now what he lost. Not just a wife, but the only person who ever truly saw him. And now she is finally seen by the world, and most importantly, by herself. Angela walks by the ocean, barefoot. A local child runs to her. "Miss Angela!" She lifts the child, spinning with joy. The girl laughs, her small hands clutching Angela's shoulders as they turn once in a circle before settling again in the warm sand. The sun is beginning to dip, casting a golden shimmer across the water. The breeze is soft, salty, familiar. Angela sets the child down, brushing a curl from the girl's forehead before sending her back toward the others, playing near the water's edge. She reaches into her pocket and pulls out her phone, checking the time. A notification flashes across the screen. Missed call. Mark. No message. No words. Just his name. Angela looks at it for a moment, her face calm. Then she presses her finger to the screen and deletes the notification. Deletes the number. Just like that. No hesitation. No lingering thought. She slips the phone back into her pocket and lifts her face to the sky. The sun is warm on her skin. The wind moves through her hair. The world doesn't feel heavy anymore. There's nothing she needs to say, nothing left undone. She breathes in deeply and lets it go. Some men don't deserve closure. Sometimes the loudest justice is peace. Hi besties, thanks so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more. See you next time. Bye.